I grew up in an Amish community, and not as a typical Amish community because my parents joined when I was 7. My dad was a big city firefighter, and my mom grew up in a normal like Baptist family, and she was always a stay-at-home mom, but they didn't really have the skills of animal husbandry or gardening. So they joined the Amish without much of an idea of that stuff. So they gave my sister and I a bunch of books from the library and said, here you go, study up. We'll buy you whatever animals and whatever feed you want and make the farm run. So we had a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, and I loved doing chores in the early morning. We had goats and ponies and horses and chickens, rabbits, and just managing all of those animals and figuring out their feed. I think that really helped me grow the skills that I needed to end up taking on a new job. But yeah, I'd usually wake up early in the morning. We'd go milk the goats. My sister and I had like adjoining stanchions, so we'd sit there and milk together. My like very favorite times. I really miss them. After that, I'd usually go do some homeschool work at the house, and then we'd go for a 2-hour horse ride every day. Another highlight of my days. Yeah. I had a lot of fun growing up. So I don't really remember life before the Amish, but life growing up was filled with buggy rides and animals and church. When I turned 17, I decided to leave the Amish church with my family. We drove to Bolivia and ended up in Jackson, Wyoming, where I wanted to be a professional skier because I thought that would be really cool. Injuries were really brutal, and the competition here is really steep. So I didn't end up making it super far.
I love this idea of people and their roots and where they come from, because I have a lot of that. So I grew up on a cattle farm in West Georgia.
Really?
All of my grandparents were farmers. I was, waking up before school, going out and feeding the cows, and then coming home and getting ready for school and going off, and then coming back and, cutting fields and fertilizing fields and all this kind of stuff. So I love, and I think I'll always look back on that as sort of the foundation for who I became, or at least it had a lot to do with a lot of those things that I would call transferable skills. I think in the grand scheme of things, it's that tenacity and the hard work, and the fact that if you have a project that needs work done and you have to get up early to do it, it's okay. I'm used to getting up early to get things done the way they need to be done.
For sure. I'm just so surprised. I had no idea. I guess I figured you were like always in tech and.
Yeah,
you never guess with Salesforce. You never know.
No, you can't. I got my first computer when I was we had a desktop, like a really old desktop that we would like write maybe like school essays on or whatever. But I got my first computer when I was 18 or 19. And that was my first personal computer, and I still just used it for school and just kind of messing around. But yeah, no, I just think that anyone can move into the tech space. It doesn't really matter where you could, because there's so much information online, and there's so many people who have done it successfully, and the barriers to entry are pretty low, and the pay is really good, and it's super flexible. So
that is shocking, though, that the pay is so well for me. My parents were also really shocked. They seemed to think that was not gonna yeah, some people can make that much, but like there's no way you can get an entry level position, and they are very shocked and excited right now. So
yeah,
they may be converted and believers in Salesforce now as well.
The funny thing is that, it's just the beginning, right? I mean, we've talked about that. This is the entry level pay, right? And a couple of years from now, you'll definitely be making 6-figure income if you want to be.
That is still really hard. I believe you, but I can never have pictured myself making that much. That's like a dream. Like, oh, if I could ever make that much money, like maybe I could actually get the life I want for myself. Even this much is amazing.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. Like when I talk to people about the program and about Salesforce, and I can see it in their eyes. They're like, okay, cool. That's far too good to be true.
Yeah, like maybe for you or a couple other random people.
And I agree with them. It sounds way too good to be true.
But you do really good, like going over the facts of it. Because I first heard you on Nick Loper's podcast. Okay. Because doing like the side hustle and running my own business and not doing very well at it. I was constantly scrambling for more ways to make money and try and fill in gaps in income. And when I heard the podcast, I was like, that really makes sense. Like the way you lay it out is like, I could actually do that. So I signed up for the 5-day challenge, and I loved Trailhead. Like I love like gamified things. And I guess since I didn't really have tech growing up, whenever I see like a game or something to do with computers, I still get really excited about it. So I was like, ooh, I want to check this out. And it was so fun that I, just kept going.
How did you go from what we just discussed and everything coming into that? And I can sort of hear even now we know you've already landed the job. You've already gone through the process, but even now I can hear I had a sewing company. I grew up a certain way. How could those skills and that experience possibly transfer into this arena, this ecosystem of Salesforce? How is that possible? So I would love to hear, I know you said you were listening to the Side Hustle Nation podcast with Nick Loper.
Every week.
Okay, so you were on there hanging out, you were figuring out how to make some side income, those kind of things, and just exposing yourself to that world. And then you stumbled across this episode and sort of, I guess, take us from there.
I actually have not been listening to the podcast so much since then because I've been really busy with Salesforce. So sorry, Nick. I guess, I really started studying the trailheads because summer is not as busy of a sewing season here. And I had a lot of time that I wasn't sewing. So I just dove into the trailheads. And it was only like a week after the 5-day challenge that I reached out to you on LinkedIn, even though like the curriculum was shut and you let me in, which I was very grateful for. From then I just got on the study program. I tried to do the 4-week program, although that was a lot of studying. It was like cram school. I felt like I was just cramming every single moment, like on the couch with my husband at night. Like he would be watching TV and I'd be over there doing Salesforce. He'd be like, what are you doing all the time on your computer? Like you've never been on your computer that much. And I was like, this trailhead, it's super fun. Like I'm going to keep learning. And I felt like the admin trail, it seemed like it was going to take forever. When I started it, it looked really undoable. But I like how you laid out the 4-week program, and just having like my study group to stay accountable to was fun. I got certified the second time around. It was really discouraging that I didn't pass the first time because I had studied really hard. Sure. I feel really confident with hands-on, but I've never been such a test person. Mm-hmm. I get nervous around tests and it just doesn't make sense to my brain. Like I can do it, but as far as explaining something or doing it on a test form, it didn't go too well. Interviews were super scary for me. I've always been terrified of speaking in front of people, and interviews are terrifying. Also, job postings in Salesforce are intimidating because they all say, like, if you filter them, it's entry level, 3 to 5 years. I was really stubborn, I'll admit that, and I don't know. I just didn't keep going through your module, so I was applying to a bunch of jobs. Dead end, got so many, I think over 100 refusals, and I was like, okay, like I need to just be more teachable and go through the modules, take the time, and the magic worked. Within a week, I had that first interview, and it took a month to get hired, which I was really surprised because they were like, we need somebody right away. Mm-hmm. And then they interviewed me. I didn't hear from them for 2 weeks. And then they're like, oh, we really liked you. We'll have a second interview. And so I went through that one, another 2 weeks, didn't hear anything. And I was like, ooh, I am pretty sure I didn't get that job.
So that's really interesting. So you go through this interview process, and you had obviously applied at a lot of companies and sort of moving through that. What made, I guess, what is the story here? Like, how did this final one play out? It sounds like you went through a couple of interviews. Is it a job you applied for? Did you get it through some type of other network? How did you get lined up with that company and get those conversations going?
Somebody shared a post that there's this hiring manager. He said, I have like a unicorn junior admin position. This is like super good opportunity. If you can get in, you're going to be super grateful to be here. Somebody had shared that post and I saw it, and I in-mailed him with that magic letter. Mm-hmm. And from there, he asked me a couple questions, like, what were your favorite parts of the latest releases? What latest projects have you done hands-on, like the basic ones? So I answered all of those, and he's like, his answer was, that's good enough to earn you a spot as an interviewee. So that's how I got into that one.
So what experience did you have with LinkedIn? Were you already on LinkedIn before joining the program, or was that something you started, after joining? And I guess, what was your experience with that?
I had a LinkedIn profile because I had a mentor who helped me start my sewing business. He's like, you got to get on LinkedIn and start making professional networks. And I never did. I'm very ashamed if he ever sees this, but I never did. I made a new profile when I started Talent Stacker, and I just really went through your step-by-step of how to do things and put the banner up and make things. And it worked super well. Also, I think it was one of Anita's videos about kind of taking off of other people and looking at all their connections. That really helped, because they're like, wow, you have a lot of really impressive connections. Like, how did you get those? I was like, ooh, have you ever heard of Talent Stacker? Taking the time and putting effort into it will eventually pay off. And it gets discouraging. Like, there were times I wanted to quit, and there were definitely times on the weekends when I wanted to have my weekends back and my evenings back and just sit back and watch Netflix. But I'm really grateful that I put the time into it and just kept working, and it paid off. And I'm super happy about that, because I think it'll pay off for anybody who puts the effort into it. Like, I don't feel like it was just happenstance for me. No. Like, I'm pretty sure anybody who puts that time and energy into it can accomplish their goals. So keep at it, and it's worth making some sacrifices in the beginning for.
When is your first day with your new job?
It is in like 2.5 days on Monday.
Yeah.
I didn't know they would send me like a company computer, so I worked hard to buy a new MacBook Pro. So I have a new computer, but apparently I'm getting a company one. And I got my whole desk set up. I've never had professional clothes. It's kind of the funny little things that I'm really excited about. Like, I've never had a blazer in my closet before, or worn something like silky and professional. Wow. Mostly, done the yoga pants and ski town outfits for a while, but now I have a walking treadmill. I'm going to get fit, and I have a stand-up desk, and I am super ready to take this job on. I mean, I think it might be a false sense of confidence, but I feel like I can learn whatever I need to learn. Like, my hands-on experience, I didn't know how to do everything out of the box, but I knew how to learn it, which is what Talent Stacker really promotes, like, figure out how to learn things, which I do know how to learn things now. And even like that birthday flow email that I made for my last company, that was really out of my territory of what I knew how to do. But I was able to research it and figure it out. So,
yeah, you can absolutely do anything. No, I do not think, my personal opinion, it is not a false sense of confidence. You should be confident. You've already accomplished more than so many people accomplish in a lifetime, between all the experiences you've had and all the challenges you've overcome. And maybe you just saw them as adventures, but those were challenges. And you took, I think challenges become adventures when you have the right mindset. And so I think you're just going to look at everything as an adventure, even though most people would look at it and say, that's a huge challenge, I don't know if I can take that on. And you're going, that's an exciting adventure. I'm ready to see where this takes me. What's coming next over the next 6 months? Are you focused on that? Or are you just taking it day to day? I guess, what is changing, and how do you see this shaping your future compared to, I guess, the plan you did have?
Well, it is impacting my life in a huge way. My husband, he made enough money for us to both live on. But now with this added additional chunk of a pretty big income for us, we think we're probably going to be able to buy a house in the next year. And I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to finish our tiny house. We have a 35 by 8 foot tiny house that is half done. And now we have the money to pay a builder to finish it. My dream is to live in Panama, in Japan for half the year, and in the States half the year. And I think that is going to be the biggest dream that I can accomplish with Salesforce. Because when you're tied down to a location, it kind of, it really limits that. And I grew up with my parents, if they wanted to do something, they would just stop whatever they were doing and do it. I personally like to have things lined up in a row. I'm a security person, so I can't just quit my job and take off and expect things to go good. But now with Salesforce, I think I'm going to be able to travel to Panama and Japan whenever I want to and still be able to work.
I think you are too.
Yeah, those are the things I'm very, very excited about.